push in life. Anybody can be somebody, eh?
Plateau, good evening, Nigeria. You are welcome to this beautiful Friday evening edition of your program, our program, Mind, Wealth for Life and Living. I'm your host, Dr. Kingsley Maiwa. I'm a consultant psychiatrist and a certified management consultant, and I'm the CEO of Network Consults. You are already acquainted with our program that Mind, Wealth for Life and Living is an initiative of Network Consults to help you to acquire the mindset, attitude, and aptitude that you need to make a success in any and every area of your life, be it business, career, marriage, politics, and even governance. We also help you to achieve and maintain a sound mind so that you can live the life of abundance that you deserve. On today's program, we will be talking about the International Day of Happiness. As you well know, we're a mental health promotion company. And the United Nations has certified or ratified the day 28th of March of every year as the International Day of Happiness. So last Saturday was the International Day of Happiness. And the theme of the International Day of Happiness for this year is happiness for all, forever. Happiness for all, forever, which implies that the significance of happiness for people all over the world cannot be overemphasized. Now, the day recognizes happiness as the most important need in any human life and links it to the overall well-being of humans. In fact, people, psychologists and mental health professionals usually use well-being as interchangeably with happiness. Now, the day also aims to establish the important role of happiness, or that happiness must play, while setting public policy objectives. As through the day, happiness is intrinsically linked related to equitable economic growth, which will thereby lead to sustainable development and overall well-being of all people. So we are saying that any public policy that any government or governments of the world want to bring must be linked with the happiness of the people. It must be something that brings well-being, social well-being, sustainable development, and overall well-being of the people. Otherwise, it will just be that the government is playing to the gallery or doing things for themselves. Now, the United Nations started this International Day of Happiness in 2013, although the resolution was passed on July 12, 2012. And since 2013, the day has been coming up with different themes. Now, the question is, what is happiness? Well, that may seem like an odd question to ask. But is it really odd? Do you know how to define happiness? Do you think happiness is the same thing to you as it is to others? What is the point of it all? Does it make any difference in our life with this issue of happiness or otherwise? These and many more are some of the issues that we'll be discussing today. However, before we go on to start the discussion with somebody that works in that domain of the mind, we will go on a short break. When we come back, we will now launch into the discussion. Make sure you stay tuned and
Everyone needs a push in life. Anybody can be somebody, eh? Through development and building one's capacity, financially, health-wise. Everyone can be better, 'cause we're taking you higher, eh? You can be entertaining, so educated, making you so independent. Through network comes on, helping communities, network comes on, individuals and organizations, network comes on, network comes on.
Welcome back. Our guest today is Miss Gladys Martifada. She is Programs Officer at Network Rehabilitation Initiative, with the NGO of our organization that takes care of our corporate social responsibilities and other things. Gladys, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
We need to greet our viewers at home too.
Good evening, viewers at home.
All right, now it is our manner to first of all get to know. I know you, but the people don't know you. We need to get to know your background, family background, probably your ethnicity, and then where you grew up, then your educational background. So can we get to meet you?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
So my name is Gladys Martifada, and of course I'm a Nigerian. I am from Nasarawa State, single by marital status, and I am from a family of 4, born into the family of Mr. and Mrs. Martifada, and number 2 in the family. So my educational background, well, I started schooling at Guildford International School, primary school, in Abuja. I was born and brought up in Abuja. So after primary school, moving on to Engravers College, the Engravers College, Kaduna State.
Okay.
And then I ran a 1-year program, IJMB, at Nasarawa Polytechnic, Federal Polytechnic of Nasarawa State.
Okay.
And after that, I moved to the prestigious Plateau State University,
Okay.
where I ran my program on BSc Psychology.
Okay, so Gladys, you have been moving around to Abuja, to Kaduna, to Nasarawa, and then now you're in Plateau. All right, so we can say you are a daughter of the soil.
Yes, sir.
All right, so now the question is, why and how did you get into the field of psychology? Why psychology?
Okay. On a serious note, psychology isn't my first choice.
Okay.
But you know, in life, we get to do what God has ordained for us.
Okay.
Initially, I wanted to study English language, but I ended up in psychology. And seeing that,
How? That's what I'm asking.
yes,
Tell
I'm
us
going
the how.
there. In my IGMB program, sociology was one of the courses we offered.
Okay.
And being that I love the study of humans,
Okay.
and how human mind works,
Okay.
not necessarily the environment, which was sociology.
Okay.
So I looked into a deeper phase, which could be, psychology was one of the options. So I then decided to go for psychology, for myself especially.
Okay.
I needed to know who I was first of all before I could even venture into going deeper in psychology.
That's interesting. Because like I told people, I said the mind just took me up, even as a medical student. The moment I got into what we call behavioral sciences in the clinicals, I became very curious. And 1 week into mental health, the mind just took me up. So every other thing was second. So I think that seems to be your experience now.
Yeah.
To study the human mind and all that. Now let's launch into into the discussion proper, because from what you are telling me now, you have rather started bringing out certain things that relates to the topic itself, happiness and all that, meaning and purpose. But the question is, what is happiness?
Well, happiness, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is the state of being happy.
Okay,
Now,
that's like making the
happiness,
question.
yeah, happiness is the noun, while happy is the word. Now, being happy is a feeling you get at a state of pleasure or contentment. Yeah, so happiness is a state of feeling or showing pleasure or contentment.
Wow. So happiness is a state and feeling.
Yeah, is a state of being happy.
Of being happy.
Okay, happiness is a state of being happy. Now, is the feeling or state of showing pleasure or contentment.
All right. All right. So now, from what you have said, you talked about pleasure and all that. So maybe you tell us if there are different levels of happiness.
Well, there are different levels of happiness.
All right.
And amongst the level of happiness, pleasure is there.
Okay.
We have pleasure, we have passion, we have ultimate good.
Okay. Okay. So.
And moving in there, pleasure is a sensory-based feeling you have, more like a stimuli response.
You are now going a lot scientific. I hope our listeners will be able to.
Okay, what we call and response.
Okay.
Pleasure is triggered as a result of something that happens. For instance, eating food, your favorite meal, could bring about you having that pleasure.
Okay.
Yeah. And then passion. Passion is one of the levels of happiness.
Okay.
Passion is, as we know, is the drive that enforces or is around that goes around happiness.
Okay.
Yes, it's the drive that you get to achieve what we could call happiness.
Okay.
Yeah.
You also talked about ultimate good.
Yeah, ultimate good. Now, this could be as a result of your belief, like religiously, morally, what you believe in. And for some of us who are Christians, we have, now that's like personally, as a Christian, ultimate good for me is my belief, my religion, the belief I have in Christ Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a level of satisfaction or happiness it gives.
Some people will also say that happiness, you have mentioned 3 there, but so a lot of people say, okay, or psychologists, people who study the human mind say there are 4 levels, purpose, and all that. So you want to talk to us about purpose?
Well, sir, you should give us more time on purpose.
You are the guest now. It's all right, no problem. Now, one thing that viewers are told to get to note about this issue of happiness is that it is a state, not just a trait. You know, when we talk about traits, we are talking about characteristics that make you. You know, some people will say, oh, this guy is ebullient, this guy is charismatic. Those are traits that you get to always find in that individual that maybe is stable over time. But happiness is a state. Everybody can experience happiness, no matter your temperament. Even if you are a melancholic person, at one point or the other, you should experience that state of happiness. As a matter of fact, as we go on in the discussion, you see that there are things you can do to actually bring forth that happiness. So it's not long-lasting like your character or your personality that is stable. No, it's not a permanent feature and all that. No, it's more fleeting. It's a changeable state. As a matter of fact, we tell people sometimes you can just induce the state of happiness by your memories, by your thoughts, by the things you think and all that. And happiness many a times is equated with the feeling of pleasure or contentment. That's why Happiness is a state of feeling or showing pleasure or contentment. So, and it should not be confused with joy or ecstasy, bliss, or any of more of those intense feelings. It is more about the pleasure and the contentment that you have. In fact, people of the Christian faith will say there's a difference between happiness and joy. Joy comes from knowing who you are in God, while happiness comes from feelings that comes from happenings around you and things like that. So somebody can be going through bereavement and still be joyous, but may not be happy at that point in time. Now, happiness can be either feeling or showing. So it's possible for you to be happy and not show it, you just feel it on the inside. Meaning that happiness is not necessarily internal or external. It can be both. So there are times in which I'm happy, I may not show it, you know. It may just be the subjective feeling that I have inside. However, many a times when people are happy, it also shows on the external. Now, that is so that we can have better clarity. Now, let's move on. You study psychology in school, and so we'll be going a little bit into psychology now. And happiness, according to psychologists, they will say is subjective well-being, like I said, and all that. So, some believe that happiness is one core component of subjective well-being, while some people will actually interchange it as subjective well-being. Now, I want to ask, is there a difference between pleasure and happiness?
Yes.
All right. So, can you take us through?
Yes. As we earlier said, happiness is the feeling you get as a result of contentment and pleasure. Or pleasure. Now, pleasure on the other hand, is that feeling which is not as long lasting as happiness. Yes, pleasure is more like it happens in seconds, because for instance, eating your favorite meal doesn't happen in 24 hours. Yes, so when you eat, you are you're in the best of your pleasuring moments at then. And then, when you get a compliment, especially for we ladies, we love compliments.
So, but you are telling us about pleasure, and I think that the situation actually has brought. It wasn't a pleasurable one.
Yes,
so, but now you are smiling.
Yes,
so you are going back to your happy state.
Yes,
all right, that's very interesting. So, what you are trying to make us realize now is that pleasure has more to do with fleeting experiences. That has to do with particular thing at that point in time. In fact, I like the experience, the example that you were giving, eating your favorite meal. There was a time we traveled somewhere. It wasn't in Nigeria, and so people were not eating the meals that we are used to. Then all of a sudden we discovered an African joint or a Nigerian joint in that African country. And people now run there. Come and see how we used to, we go and book for it. So the first day when we got it and we were eating pounded yam, and people took it and said, oh my God. you think that their life depended on it. So that will tell you more about pleasure and all that. So pleasure is more about in the moment thing. People have sex, they have pleasure. They may go on and regret it later. People eat and then they may even be constipated and be wondering. But at that point in time, so happiness is more stable than pleasure. But pleasure contributes to happiness. Is that also?
That's true.
All right. All right. Now let's move on concerning the issue of one of the things that you mentioned when we were talking about that level. We are talking about purpose. We are talking about passion and all that. Now let's talk about happiness and meaning. Because you talked about overall good, and you said you as a Christian, that will be whatever, and people will say that, okay, spirituality is not even about, it's about meaning, it's about knowing that your life has meaning here on earth, and then there is a superior being that is watching over you and all that. So, tell us more. Is happiness the same thing as meaning? Does meaning contribute to happiness?
Well, unlike happiness, meaning is not a fleeting state that drifts throughout the day.
Okay.
It's more comprehensive.
Okay.
It's a more comprehensive sense of purpose.
Okay.
And feeling of contributing to something great or something big.
Okay. Wonderful.
Greater than yourself.
Okay, so will you say that you find meaning in network?
Of course, I find meaning in network.
All right, so tell us more about it. Maybe when you share that experience, it's going to drive you to.
Okay.
Because I remember some comment that you made to me at the point in time. Maybe that will help you to talking about, oh, you didn't even know that you could be doing something so meaningful, contributing to other people. Maybe that will drive it home in the heart of our listeners.
Okay. So now, based on my experience working at Network, it has further made me understand how much I have in life, how much I could offer to humanity.
Okay.
And seeing all of these capacities gives me a sense of no, not pleasure now.
Okay.
It gives me a sense of fulfilling purpose.
Fulfilling purpose,
Yeah.
which will now be meaning. So
Yeah.
it seems that your life is
Has
showing
a meaning.
as meaning. Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. All right, viewers at home, I'll be discussing with Gladys Martifada, who is Programs Officer at Network Rehabilitation Initiative, which is our NGO, that is. And before, we will open the phone lines when we come back from our break. But before we go on that break, let me actually make a quote by one Roy Bamister. It says that humans will resemble many other creatures in their striving for happiness. Because we know that even animals strive for happiness.
Sure.
But the quest for meaning is a key part of what makes us humans, and uniquely so. So, meaning is broader, more purposeful than just about happiness. Some people will say pursuit of happiness. Others will tell you that no, our life here is not just a pursuit of pleasure and just happiness, but there must be meaning to our life. And that is what makes us know that, yes, for you to be happy, your life you must have meaning. But happiness is just a component of the things that brings meaning. Happiness is not meaning it's not meaning in itself. And now, Scott Barry outlined some distinctive things that help us to know the difference between meaning and happiness. And it's important that we understand these things before we go on the break. Number one, he said finding one's life easy or difficult was related to happiness but not meaning. So people might have meaning to their life, but it may be tough. Moses had meaning, but he had to run away. He had to lead people through the wilderness for 40 years. That was not easy, but there was meaning in it. Feeling healthy was related to happiness, but not meaning. Feeling good was related to happiness, but not meaning. Scarcity of money reduced happiness more than meaning. So you may not have money now, but your life might still have meaning. But you definitely may not really be happy that, oh, you don't have money. So people with more meaningful lives agree that relationships are more important than achievements. And that will take us, when we get back, we will talk more about those things. And helping people in need was linked to meaning, but not happiness. So expecting to do a lot of deep thinking was possibly related to meaningfulness, but negatively with happiness. So these are some of the things that make us know that, oh, there is a difference. There are differences between happiness and meaning. If your life has meaning, your life is going to definitely be happier. But having meaning does not mean that you will always be happy. It is more purposeful and all that. But when you link your purpose and meaning to the things that give you happiness, your life will actually be more complete. Well, it's on this note that we will go on a short break now. When we come back, we open the phone line so that you can contribute. You can ask your questions. You can even share your experiences with us. But make sure you stay tuned and you don't go away.